Thank you for tuning in to the Punchline Podcast. You know my name, Lawrence 𝗕ecie. Why do I always reintroduce myself every time? It's everywhere, it's all over here, and you know that's why you came to this channel. It's another day, another week, and just to deviate from the common discussions that we always say, today we have a very, very special discussion which I believe that is close to my heart. As you know that this past week it was International Men's Day, and this month has been a November, it's been a men's month and everything, and we changed the presidency, we have a new man in power. So yeah, for now I think we have gained a little privilege to say men, all we want. Today in the studio, I'm joined by two very important people. These specialists are from the medical sector. One of them is Dr. 𝐒𝐿𝐿 Selemogwe, who's a clinical and forensic psychologist at Psych Matters Clinic here in Gaborone. And also joining us in the discussion is Dr. Thuto Victor, who is a medical doctor and an occupational medical practitioner, and a GP as well, basically. He offers his services from 𝐸20 medical practice here in Gaborone as well. The reason why we are here, and I'm saying that it's a Men's Month, we have a special event that is coming that we are going to touch about, which is the reason why we are also gathered here around today. So stay tuned as I bring my guests on board. Once again, thank you for joining me in the studio. Dr. Selemogwe, how are you, ma'am?
I'm good, thank you.
All right, Dr. Victor.
Hey, Mr. 𝗕ecie, how are you?
Ke a tsoga thata le nna. Ke ntse ke ipotsa gore re tlo go nna le conversation e leng. I know throughout the year I've been saying to my producers that I wish to have a conversation which is a very social conversation, a topic, a subject that is very, very detrimental to botsogo ja rona as Botswana. Because one of the things that inspired me to set up a podcast in this manner was because of the issue, the happiness index, where Botswana was actually ranked low in the global statistics. And I got into a pursuit to try to find out why exactly are we unhappy, and some of the elements of these issues that we are going to talk about today came up. So Dr. Selemogwe, thank you for joining me into the Punchline Podcast.
Yes.
What I would like to start with is that I would like you to just introduce yourself. Dish out your accolades and all the likes of Barry.
Yes. No, thank you for the invitation. Dr. Selemogwe, but normally people would say Dr. Selemogwe. As introduced, I'm a clinical psychologist. My PhD in forensic psychology. So I work as a practitioner for Psych Matters, where we offer psychological services, counseling, psychotherapy, and then we also offer the workshop. They focus mainly on mental health issues, and then we also offer psychological assessments, clinically, educational. And then as a forensic psychologist, I also offer forensic assessment. I go to court as an expert witness on cases that have a bearing law and mental health issues. Yeah, that is who I am. But I think, in terms of the summit that we're going to have, I specifically am interested in issues that relate to men's mental health specifically because we've had a lot of focus on issues relating to women, but a lot of our social ills, it's actually focused on men, and therefore we need to actually have an eye and create safe spaces for men to actually talk about these issues. Yeah.
Okay, thank you very much. Basically, I would like you to, because when we first met and we spoke about this, you highlighted that there's going to be an event, which is an inaugural summit about botsogo ja borre. Just in short, tell me what it is, where it is going to be, and what we should expect.
Okay. Botsogo ja borre ke summit e leng gore it will focus on men's health issues. We have specifically looked at 4 dimensions well-being, being the physical well-being, which my colleague Dr. Victor will talk more about. We are going to focus on career well-being. Career well-being, they will unpack, like, as a man, how do you advance yourself in terms of career as you move through the transitions of life, and how to really take control in terms of your career as a man. And then the other dimension of well-being that we're going to focus on, which is my specialty, is mental health. Under that theme, mental health, we will unpack issues 𝗕C𝗶𝗽𝗄, which we've seen an escalation of in the past 3 years. I think I was somewhere a few weeks ago talking about like how many men have actually taken their lives, like almost 700 and something within 2 years.
What?
Yeah,
In Botswana?
in Botswana.
Jesus.
Yes, in Botswana. And the escalation of like men taking lives of their loved ones, even to the point where we hear allegedly taking the lives of their own children. So that is a conversation we're going to talk about. And hopefully within that, men can actually have safe spaces where they can dialogue with each other about what is going on. Because some women have actually expressed it's a conversation that we need to have as men. But we always focus on the problem, but not on the underlying precipitators, causes.
Yes.
And we would want men to have that space. What is it? Because some of us don't seem to understand. And then financial well-being will have people in the financial sector come to talk about men, about the importance of money, how to handle money, how to have a good relationship with money. Isn't how I'm divorce.
And how not to be stingy.
Maybe, hopefully that will be part of the conversation. So, and then fatherhood, I think it's a conversation, we need to unpack as men, or you need to unpack as men, Lawrence. What does it take to be a father, and just the transition of fatherhood, and then blended families, because we see that we have different types of families. Paternity test. So there are men that lament and cry over. So those conversations will be at the summit.
Oh, fantastic. That's brilliant. Before I chip in, Dr. Victor, and this one I'll leave it to you and me for us to actually extrapolate what's happening here. The guest is Lydia Mafoko-Diza, who is an entrepreneur coordinator at the Ministry of Youth and Gender Affairs. Is that confirmed? Or
yeah, it is confirmed.
Because the event is going to be on the 29th of November, 2024 at Wipuso Hall.
Yes.
But the guest is, I see, is a phenomenal woman. And today our conversation is also led by a woman, but we are talking about conversation about men in the spaces.
Health.
What an interesting dynamic. Tell me how you got here as you let me in on this.
Dumela gape, Lawrence.
Yes.
My name is Thuto Victor. I'm a medical doctor by training. I was sponsored by the government, fortunate enough to be sponsored by the government to study 𝐷𝐫𝐞 𝐒𝐮𝐻. That's where I did my training. I came back and started to practice 2016 in Botswana. I did a few stints more I did my service to government, and then I went and explored the private sector. I've been around. Currently at the moment, I'm now running my own GP practice where I get to see members of the community. In my journey, I've worked with corporates, I've worked with organizations, and one thing most of our health issues, they come from the workplace. That lighted a passion in me to go back to school, and I did my studies in occupational health medicine. Right now, I'm also an occupational medical practitioner. Like Dr. Selemogwe was saying, our program is going to be well-rounded and fully packed. Something in the menu. Now, as a medical doctor, where my heart aches for, because it used to be that in the past, mahatshe na tshwenyega ka non-communicable diseases, malwetse ana a sa tshelwane, your infectious diseases tse e leng gore no tsona ke di-bacteria, di-virus, ke tsone dilo tse e leng gore we're taking a lot of budget to deal with. But things have changed. Now those conditions more or less are under control. Re bona a new monster e tla itshupa. Re bona bo diabetes, malwetse a pelo, malwetse a mahatla, di kankere, dipalo di a go godimo. Every day we get a death notification in one of these conditions. So I'm really grateful to be part of this summit. I'm looking forward to share my information because what I consider myself to be a lifestyle medicine advocate. Botsogo jwa rona re ka bo tlhokomela ebile re ka bo baballa ka ga ka re tshelang ka teng ga go tlhokagala re emele gore re lwale e be re simolla ra go batla dithuso tsa bo bongaka. Prevention is better than cure. If we take better care of ourselves, which we are going to teach to the public and everyone else on the day, then we are going to end up preventing the development of these diseases. In the instances where people already have such conditions, we are going to teach them how to manage them so that we prevent the deterioration and progression of these conditions. That is what this is all about, because we believe that a healthy person is a productive individual. Re yo itekanetseng yo na le botsogo jwa gagwe o ka kgona go hasela o ka kgona go tshwara o ka dira a neela nako ya gagwe le matla a gagwe mo tse e leng gore di ka motshetsa.
Okay. So what does creating spaces for dialogue, what does it really mean? What should I expect? Like you said, men are usually closed in. We don't speak our emotions. We don't speak how we feel. We always get discovered at the last minute. And also coming with all these stigmas that do happen in our society. Already when I'm saying this, someone who has a problem maybe around some of the things that we have spoken about, or even just a man really who is just okay, because we need to learn all the time, is probably asking, so or what is the set going to be like, and what does it mean, open spaces?
I think creating safe spaces for men's well-being.
Yes, safe spaces.
Yes, safe spaces. It's mainly for men. I think the lady who GBV, obviously, we are here to say we support men. We want to understand men better, as compared to when we come from the negative. So for us, we have a whole lot of women who are saying, let's maybe change the narrative and the dialogue. After the summit, we get a better understanding and how we can better support men in that regard. Coming to the summit, it's going to be about men, and the facilitators, just like Dr. Jakana Abuaha, it's a creation of a conversation that would make people want to ask questions, and hopefully the facilitators would also ensure that it's a safe space because we know that even from research, men do not access health services as compared to women. They don't utilize health services as women. Maybe that's just why Wanaruna is really in the forefront to say, men, we are here. And I'm glad that the men that have taken heed to what we are here to support you in this initiative.
That's quite interesting. So basically, women are invited to the summit alongside men as well.
No, we are inviting women to support, but they will not be inside the room. It's only, we are there to support. We are there to support. Women will be there to support, but not part of the dialogue. Even for me, if I give a welcome, Dr. Victor.
No, because I was trying to understand. You know, women are dominant. I mean, you know when it's your birthday. It's like it's her birthday. Now you're the one paying the whole entire bill. So I'm trying to wonder that at this men's conference now, when we are talking about our issues, now that we talking there.
I think we've been asked that question.
Yes.
What about us? We have a lot of spaces for women to talk about their own issues. I think what is important for us is for hardly the dialogue. But Dr. Victor Lemba facilitators to come to us and say, you know what, these are the issues that have come out. And then how can we then support, so that it's not just a summit and a dialogue, going forward, how can the society and most importantly the community supporting here for what are men going through?
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So what happens, Doc, when the summit is wrapped up and is done? We often have this thing that what are the expectations of the plan?
It's going to be different this time around. Like I just explained, we used to be much healthier as a nation than we are right now. So it means somewhere along the line we lost the plot, things changed, and then we find ourselves unhealthy at a worse stage than we used to be. So creating safe spaces, the menu is wide. Menu. We are going to have experts talk to audience here, and then you'll find that the same issues hit us differently depending on our age, depending on our conditions at that particular time. Yes. Let's just take a step back. One of the things we used to do successfully, which I believe in, get some camaraderie. These environments, Sunday soccer, we can start to talk about your health. We can say, how did you run this past weekend? How's your diet been? How's the stress level? How are the babies doing? Because the essence, now botsogo is like I like the fact that no there is a local stigma because I have a condition so the aim is to educate. BP, yes, but BP if you stay away, what's at the Thuto but Kitso, we are random body patterns. I was how like Dr. Victor condition, I get clear. I would say, my good can learn. Honorable Mosegel and related. Respect our Harrods or who, Mongolemo, Nata Mega Mola, how we sequayante. Because for us to win this health battle, it beats at an individual level. Dr. Victor. Kola peng hakeja ake jasent ake sidila mil ake tleke go Dr. Selemogwe mara ke etsetseno ke gateletswe it's kana go moruting wa as individuals before we work a community how are we treating our health issues again Hakele Dr. Victor as an employer of people or as an employee come miracle am I advocating for positive health behaviors just the weekend over the weekend challenging where the walker mono and then after that habaira dijo thing ebekele ba la gerenya dijo tse ga di tsamaelane le fimi ka gore ho no santse go itumetse ebe ke dijimala like let me not spoil the mood while it's at but on Monday after the weekend ebeke boyala go bona ke ba I commend you for the event daily relaying. It's very commendable. Make you feel our sentence there. I don't know next time after a walk. Can't we have the vegetable snacks, the fruits and veg snacks, the smoothie, the oats, the whole grain? The action is so this is an audit that we are going to be doing relevant stock or about drugs, about alcohol, about smoking. Do we understand how costly it can be? Before there is one thing we overlook. Occupational medicine, ba re ruta kgang ya risk. Ba re ga o tsena gongwe le gongwe o tshwanetse o lebelele gore go aga diphatsa tse di leng teng ke eng. Yaanong ko botsogong ka go tlhoka lesego, we always look not more than 1 year in advance. I think re kgang ya annual medical exam gongwe ke yone e re rutang gore ngwaga le ngwaga ka go bona ngaka. Until ke ipotsa gore in 20 years from now, 40 years from now, 60 years from now, botsogo ba me ke ba approach ya ka approach a pension ya me. Gore ke batla gore ha ke setse ke godile ke le butswa tlhogo ke thuntse tlhogo. Ke batla gore ke santse ke kgona gore ke tsamaye ka dinao tsa me ke itirela ya ka re bona bontata rona mogolo gone yana ba kgoneswa ke bona matshelo a neng ba tshela bogologolo. Ke sone hela se le gore mono a letsatsi ke gone gore borre kana re hella re imetswe re hella re imelwa ntlha engwe ile go tlhoka kitso go tlhoka bogakolodi go tlhoka support. So this is the forum to come and do a self check on you, a check on your neighbor gore our neighbor o tsoga yang go ntse yang go iragala yang o kilo a leka se consider 1 2 3.
Going into that, actually, before I get into non-communicable disease that are with mental health, as an observation I've made in the society, are we not too interrelated as a small community, small society, and in such a way that news fly quicker? And sometimes, at most times, it's negative, such that we try to close in on our personal businesses. I mean, you find that Dr. Selemogwe knows someone that I know, and you know someone that I know who then happens to know me, then someone is my relative. In all of that, as intertwined as we can be as a society. I don't know, it's my observation, but maybe as an expert, you can advise what your take is on such an observation.
It's both a good thing,
yes,
and it's both a challenge.
Yes.
In that challenge, if we choose to be negative, I forgot to disclose what I also work with Dr. Selemogwe. She runs a rehabilitation facility.
Yes.
So I provide medical services for her clients. So in the short space, I interact with clients. I've grown as a person. So the point I want to bring to you, yes, Botswana hela traditionally we are a close-knit community. We are very friendly, we are very jovial with one another. Case in point, peaceful elections and change of government we just had. The thing in Nahara change the attitudes are on for example, say you take alcohol. Or like hey, Dr. Victor, can I 2 weeks the typical, usually the common response you would get, Oscar it's a breaking. So at the rehab facility, these negative comments from the outside. so it would be better if I didn't, handle this negative comments. The tongue is mightier than the sword.
Yes.
You know, you'd be surprised to know that all these health programs, research at the Africa. Our ancestors were because they were healthy. Over 100 family. So somewhere along the line we lost the plot. We became too competitive. We became too materialistic. We became too negative. I don't think that my 74, my 64, my 54, my 84.
Okay, on the same issue, and what's your take? I mean, from a psychological perspective, I've had my friends Dr. Victor I can't stop. What's with this thing in our society?
I think, like Dr. Victor Jakanabua, it's lack of understanding about health, but it's a health issue. It's a
Yes.
health issue. And so as much as you have a headache, I can talk about a health issue.
Yes.
I think the stigma that you brought out earlier on in terms of how there's a lot of stigma on things that we don't necessarily dialogue about on certain aspects of health. It is the thing that my colleague here was mentioning, where let's normalize talking about health. Hari we ka di diagnosis it's about just general health issues, so that I'm able to then be comfortable. That's hence why we're a safe space. Where as long as renally negative attitudes and how we do feel like just to share with you, look at clinicing. You know, sometimes men find themselves receptioning, and then they start dialoguing. To and we've normalized to make sure that people actually do have a conversation because because it is a health issue. Yeah, it's a health issue.
So, babu abalekos patela because we want to resolve. In the open spaces, how do we?
But you know what? It's not for high it is the recognition that I'm not alone.
Hey, I'm not alone.
I'm not alone. And I think the importance of it happen. You know, now as a forensic person, I see people who have killed partners. I see victims by GBV. So I deal with perpetrators as well as victims. So if we're not going to normalize the conversation about mental health issues, that is the result. It's the result. And it's not anybody, as well as Dr. Selemogwe, where you then say, but I thought I knew him. No, it is because we don't create where we can actually talk, especially for men.
Okay. No, that's quite paramount. I mean, we see it quite often. I do believe that everyone who's a man, even women, but men, in my perspective, have gone through situations and incidences that broke them, and no one has ever known until years and years later. I think me and my friends, we do have conversations a lot about many things, but I wouldn't want to lie. We still have boundaries of things I don't feel like I would say. I've figured out that one needs to create these spaces also for themselves with different types of people. I often say there are issues that I feel more comfortable offloading to a stranger. You know, when you are on a flight, traveling somewhere.
Why? Why?
Because of the stigma or the judgmental issue that I was raising earlier on, you will find that if you know something about this, tomorrow you're with my friends, because when you take it from instances where business just because you said something about some other person or a politician, and then so it's those kind of things, you know, and sometimes the mere fact that maybe our society is also not advanced or well read beyond the stigmas that we see. Kore ho tshwana ha motho ha gongwe a ka re a lwala ba lose weight, re simolola go mo categorize ka all sorts of type of diseases and body shaming and doing all of that. We've seen it on social media and all the likes. We've seen certain artists and whatnot, wouldn't say names, but body shame because they've decided that they are going to lose weight, they are going to go to the gym, they are going to take care of their health, and then because slim after program after years, here's my new body and my health, people started saying no, why like it. It's those type of stigmas that we live around. I'm laying this foundation because I want you to help us maybe navigate through it. They are strangers. There are obviously certain things, you know, this ones I can only engage with my uncle so that if they bury me, he'll say it after. And then of course these ones are between me and my wife and all the likes. And then you will have where it's your friends and work, other professional things. So that's my observation. I don't know, I'm not a professional, but that's a person with 5 senses can observe. I see them as 4, but I don't know what you have observed
Yeah.
and how you work around it.
Yeah, I think like I do acknowledge issue vulnerability, like how do we become vulnerable in different spaces. We are not saying people are coming to therapy in the summit. We are simply saying that we are coming to dialogue. And it is that we can ask questions. We don't have to talk about like things that pertain to us that are deep. Vulnerability we create depending on my level of safety emotionally. Again, even for people that are delegates, the level of safety will determine how vulnerable they are. But we're not going to unpack somebody's life kosa meeting. We are simply Dr. Victor Jakana Buare. Can we have mepato? Yesterday I was speaking to somebody,
That's Boy Scouts.
Yeah, to two gentlemen about like what could come out of the summit is actually having sort of pockets of men that can be addressing issues that pertain to them. How physically fit?
Yes.
How do we deal with finances? How can we come as a group financing? Because how to create wealth as men. Again, so the space is not to unpack. It's a dog has a movement to a move. I don't know why he doesn't talk about it. Because I follow the movement. They do about 10,000 steps. I've tried to do it. I'm still doing it sometimes. How can we join such movements so that we actually support each other in terms of our health goals and all that? So we then has now we got this, and we're like, no, maybe I can join this. But are we going to talk about everything else? No. Maybe in this pod, this is where I belong, because this is how the level of my safety. I can maybe now I have it's my enemy. So maybe I should actually gravitate more towards this group of men that are going to be more focused on
financial matters.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you'll be having different rooms and different pods.
No. I mean it's one group, but out of the dialogue, I get what are the emerging themes, and then hopefully we create then. Maybe once in a month, let's also continue the dialogue so that it doesn't become a one time event.
Yes. I was going to say earlier on when I posed the question about what do we expect after the summit, maybe to hear resolutions, and then what we do with those resolutions. Are we able to bring them here as part of the findings that are coming from the summit, and maybe get guidance to say, okay, then what does it mean and where are we moving forward? Because I do believe that when we have dialogues, we are trying to solve a problem, right?
Yes.
And the steps towards solving a problem, the experts, how do you move towards that? I don't know, is it something that you are yet to?
Yeah, it will. That is actually at the pinnacle of it. We are having a dialogue, but we want to come out with understanding men better. Or what is going on with regards to their health, and obviously the experts, guidance in terms of how to actually resolve some of the issues that will be raised. But now we've made strides in this. Maybe you can also try it. Okay. There's one gentleman, he's a community activist. He has been in the PTA, Parent Teachers Association, and he's doing a lot of work in terms of issues in community, and he's bringing other men from there. So for such, it is to equip them with how to better do it or how to improve. And maybe what is it that they are doing that is actually addressing some of these issues that we've raised.
So in that case, so that we break the barriers on vulnerabilities of
it could be hashtag.
Yeah,
and all the likes. So I think if there are any other issues with the summit and the event, I believe that we'll keep on touching on them.
Yeah.
I want to learn a few things before we leave here. I think at the top of my head, which is something that we have reported and spoken quite extensively about as one of the biggest problems that our society is experiencing, over and above other things that we have mentioned, is gender violence, gender-based violence in all its forms. Because I can see that one of our guests is going to touch on the issue as a subtopic which is quite sensitive, and ha ke itse gore keng re sa itse ko national dialogue, but re tla utlwa gore goromento o mosha and o tla categorize yang. Basically, what I want to understand before ra kgaogana ke gore, what does gender-based violence look like against men in Botswana, and how does it differ from gender-based violence against women?
I'm glad that you asked. When a gender, gender, it encompasses a spectrum. So normally when people think gender-based violence, they're thinking women
And men. And there are other genders.
It's not specifically what is being done to women. It's what is being done to someone called a human being, whether irrespective of their sex, or whether they're men or women. So the issue, gender-based violence is quite important. One of the things that is quite clear in terms of it's not easy for men to talk about it. So we have underreporting gender-based violence that is done towards men. And it encompasses different forms, and I'm glad that you are asking, because Dr. Victor Lena focuses on that. He will say a little bit about that. Physical. Wa bana go asmaela go nna le borre ba ba bitswang go na le borre ba ile gore ba go kgontshwa maikutlo go na le borre ba ile gore we've invited them. I was at a meeting 3 weeks ago before the club. Borre ba bang ba se tlhopha se song ba bua gore bomme la re khokhontsha ha re sa diri madi a kana o tlebe re bidwa bo se kopa bo mon kana ga go ba iraeng wena ha o khone go iraeng. And so we tlelele gore men don't have spaces where they can talk about that, because men like to joke a lot when it comes to certain issues. And then financial abuse, financial abuse. Not a lot. And not to legitimize why people kill their partners. You should start financing.
They end up becoming emotional and manifesting.
And manifesting emotional regulation. So Kanye GBV is not to blame men, but we would also want to unpack what is happening to men.
What triggers?
What are the triggers? What are the risks? What are the risk factors? They contribute towards GBV to men.
While we are there, before he chips on it, I want to pose maybe a philosophical question, because if we talk about this whole point that you have been laying down, there is this saying that a man is a provider. And then say things happen and a man is unable to provide at the time. And we get to the symptoms and the factors of what we have just raised. How do you reconcile the two?
It's a conversation that I like the fact that you said philosophical. It's a construct that we've made. But you see, people, when we talk about men, because I know you will provoke me, when we talk about men being a provider, you provide safety. It might be financial. Provision is not only financial. It's not only financial. And the thing is also what we were talking about with ladies. You know, we've left the male child behind in terms of empowering them to deal with the lady who's empowered. But even for empowered women, when it comes about how come we don't know what to do with our power? It's from being empowered, because it doesn't land where we have an empowered man who's empowered to deal with the transition that has happened to enlighten women about their potential as human beings. So we somewhere. We moved one brick, but we left another. So even in terms of a man is a provider, it made sense. It made sense because when a provider in that context, I think the dialogue a man is a provider, I earn more than you. It has changed. It has changed. Yeah, and so it's between two people, and even as a society, we have to reconstruct what that is, because we have dismantled something.
Yes, of course. We have broken the ceiling. Now we have two bulls in a crow. Often more than not. More often than not. Yes, I just wanted to put it in its rawest form about how it's being said out, so that then we are able to unravel it nicely.
The other thing, how would a bull deliberate? The conversation about leadership, we also need men that have vision, that can lead us clear, so that we don't now lead ourselves two bulls.
Yes.
So we need in the dialogue to have clarity about what leadership is all about in terms of men.
Okay. What are your views on this issue?
There's a very volatile topic to have, but sadly, we see the numbers that are increasing. A lot of men are inflicting physical violence, at times ending up bababola. So another way I look at it, because I run a business, I believe the family unit is not different from the business I run. Every business in its CEO, you job description, you mandate. So, like the captain of the team, your responsibility to drive our organization, or this is where we are going, this is how we manage our resources, HR, personal development, staff training, I think we have to manage our families, our lives, our individual lives, then our family lives well before we can come to manage the business it's our own. So you'll find the same principles they apply in application of leave, operational costs, school fees, all these things. Since I became an entrepreneur, I want to tell you, but the family structure is not that different from the business setup. My partner, we had to come to an agreement there where organization at a family unit, how is it going to run? What are our missions, our visions? I think what she's talking about, which at one time or another, 𝐒𝐮𝐬𝐿𝐻𝐿 had mentioned they went through it. Sometimes as men, relate a direction, because when we feel overwhelmed, those instances where you don't feel like not talking to anyone, feel like not explaining yourself to anyone, or you are praying or successful. Usually those are the moments we become almost dictator-like in our family units. People have to bear with us. But we are saying, no, we're not different leadership systems already. Violence perpetrated most of the time is physical. Power I'm facing yaman power I'm facing yamasat. Even banagabu when about drink sorry Brazil because a man a man has an instinct so there is that mutual fear, mutual respect. We hardly get into confrontations amongst ourselves.
These days,
because we recognize even more boxing, professional fighting, the weight category. Because if you do the right stance, your whole weight goes into that body. So how only 100 kg, 60 kg, it's a mismatch.
Yes, yes.
In a sport which is regulated, they are taking this risk and addressing it very diligently, trying to prevent it by all means. In professional setting, it's different. It's different. It's our topic here because it's very controversial. But one of the things the tongue is mightier than the sword.
Yes, yes.
The impact they are thing, the pain they are thing. Gongwe e heta ya blow mo litlong ka ya face mo litlong o ka hapele go ritseng gore go botlhoko teng ke le ka le go kwela. So like you are saying, we need a national dialogue to say the nature of violence by perpetrator, and she was talking about physical abuse. I think there's a lot of emotional borre ga se batho bontsi ba bone at least ga se batho ba ba gifted ka go bueng bone ntwa kgolo ke a molomo ga se batho ba re ba tshwarana ka tse di jang re tla re bua ko morago. So you've got a mismatch ya motho wa mme le motho wa rre, even le their strengths ka ha ba le ka go iphemela ka teng during that heated moment. Yo mongwe o tla a kopolotse o mongwe o tla ka face o mongwe o tla ka dipuo. It's a mismatch. So in the first place, why are we fighting? We as men, because we have to call out they end up babitsabasad. Even in professional boxing is not allowed. Only the weight category, even more professional boxing is not allowed. So how long I have to call you out. I have to talk to you. We have to find out why we did. I don't think there is anything I don't think gona le hamola woreng nyana unless self defense.
There's no justification for violence.
There's
self-defense or
there's none whatsoever. So let's recognize what men, by the nature of biology, we are 10 times as strong as basadi baratsela lebon. And then
So what could we say should be our expectations? Maybe in short, I know we will unpack it at the summit with others and experts and their experiences. But how could we imagine our call to action to be? I'm saying this because for decades the statistics have always been looking bad. The statistics of gender-based violence in Botswana. The statistics of suicide with men in Botswana, and the statistics on the general happiness ya Botswana. At what point, what could be our call to action?
Can I ask you a question?
Yes. I think 250.
250, I get it.
Yes.
Right now, as men, we are working around 350.
We are ready to best.
We are ready to best.
Why?
Because of environment, because of health, because of money, because of expectations, so much demand, so much pressure. We are not even coping. This is why men continue to...
Is it finances at the top? Or
does it matter though? Or which one is at the top? Because at the end of the day, we still continue to kill ourselves. You know, a lady will try to kill herself 10 times. I see you. A man will do it once and he's going to kill himself. So what is it? We are at a point of bursting, a point of explosion due to those incidents. I liked how Buaka you'd rather confide in a stranger. We want to create those platforms, and we want to signpost to say we're not okay halo, we're not going to halo, we're not going to halo. Harale today. men are beginning to watch these programs. They are beginning to have conversations. This show is going to be critiqued and reviewed by the general audience, and that's you playing your role. And then the common issue ke kopana alone. I get a couple. Tante ga sa tlhole e bereka. Tante malatsi a re ga problem. E be ke ba ra ke re boelang lapeng tsayang kgwedi le sa kopane. Focusa mo leratong la lona hela mo go tukiseng mollo. Boelang kona go ile o santse o matla le santse le tlhanya. After kgwedi le boe. Most of them banna ba nteletsa ba re kgwedi ebile re paletse ke go itshwara kgwedi sengwe le sengwe se siame re moja ga re tlhoke thuso ya gago. It's all emanating from mathata a tlhaloganyo, stress se sentse e be sa ama mmele e be go a go manifesta mo lapeng. So this is what we are saying. This is what this conference is saying. We are going to give banna the assignments. We are going to recommend the activities to say, improve, and how is that going to go on?
Okay. So let me throw a theory to you. Maybe we can take it home, and then maybe we will have answers if we find it. Strangers. I would say sometimes for me it works, but I want to bring it closer to home. We've had a lot of celebrities, maybe in South Africa in the past 2, 3, 4 years, committing suicide. You would expect that there would have been people of certain stature who have access to assistance in all its form, whether it's medical, whether it's psychological, whether it's a therapist. You would have imagined that they have people around them where they can talk. But someone once put it to me that sometimes the more famous or popular you become, the more your spaces of secrecy and your personal spaces shrink. More especially with social media. Before we know social media, all of this is all in that. How do we look at this aspect differently? Because now we are not only looking at stigma as in the olden days. We have platforms that really shrink our societies, how quick the news move, how our personal spaces no longer becomes personal spaces anymore. Where strangers now are no longer strangers. How do you imagine it?
I think the issue, I'm in the public, and therefore I feel a lot naked. Sometimes we have all this access, but yet we are alone.
We are alone, yes.
Yeah. I was somewhere at one of the radio stations. Somebody said there's what is called loneliness amongst men, where you are lonely, but you have like a lot of people around you. But inside, you are alone. You are not able to be and vulnerable.
Yes.
It's the thing that creates psychologist. It is that creation, loneliness. Sometimes social media, create that we can post, like repost this, we can create environments where we are. But it doesn't necessarily always reflect what is going inside all of us. That's why we get shocked. Because we don't post things that are not going well. Not going on well. And therefore, the shock, the other thing, maybe we should clarify, mental health, like, you know, the value ya 10 pula, 100 pula, it's really on the person who's holding it. And therefore, what might be stressful to you is not the same. I get. But at the end of the day, we are all human beings. Health, it's all of us. It doesn't care what our you know what, it doesn't matter. And therefore, even mental health is not for those that don't have money. Somebody who is a billionaire would have more problems than when 100 kids about you. So we can have that understanding. We can actually, and I'm glad that you are asking for what is relationship. You are doing that. And congratulations for asking us And I'm there thinking, should I actually be here?
Yeah,
Because this is the dialogue that we are saying, have it. Yeah, have it as men.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
It's,
so you are contributing to addressing the issue by bringing awareness. Focus in that. If we could have pockets of people doing that, we would move a long way because we are part of the government.
We are the government.
We are the government.
Yes,
and so I was going to say, you know what, you don't realize you are actually part of the solution. This is the solution.
Just to give you, to drive it home.
Okay.
How long have you been driving?
I've been driving for
quite some time.
Quite some time. 2 decades, I would like to imagine.
Who took you down about this is a car, moki oil stake, moki water gauge, moki brake fluid, moki. Who did that with you?
Quite interesting. The person who taught me how to drive was my mother.
No, not how to drive.
What do you mean?
Go check a koloi hela gore check a koloi how check a oil check a ha moke temperature sensor.
No, it's still my mother basically.
It's still
and I think she taught everyone in my village almost.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
No, what I wanted to get to go, most of us, we go to the driving school, change and then we get our license. But engineering, pagala do this, tire pressure, we end up and
when you're stuck.
We only do what we know. No, you check this as well. And then also, how we are up north. The night before, we check the tire roads, did a full tank, wiring.
Yes.
And then, check.
Yes.
Do you do that with your health? When you've got a big promotion at work, or even if you have a demotion or there's going to be a layoff, when a baby is coming into the family, when the kid is transitioning from primary school to high school, do you sit down and say, things have changed? What's going to change? It means probably you can no longer carpool, transport the school fees, budget change. Are you in charge of your health, your life? Some people will seem to have some but they will still resort to taking their life. It's not how much money you have, it's what you do with the money you have, what mechanisms, what processes are you aware of. So you should know when we check out oil hakai, gauge hakai, wa servicing hakai. You are so worried about how about the color because your car is worth maybe 1 million pool. How much are you worth? When do you go to a counselor or engine? So let's talk. Because my life thing, if I were to say the day you thought you'll probably write a book but you always come back. Yeah. So if you don't know how to positively handle those challenges, all the setbacks in life, if you are not well equipped, how we are with robots, how you jack will span, how change or change a tire. This is what we are saying we are going to be doing to teach to people. Because way after 5 days. You are fine. No. So we are moving from that.
So basically, we have to be taught how to self-diagnose symptoms that are detrimental to both our mental health and our physical health.
We just need to be self-aware and know where to ask for help.
And when to ask for help. Yeah.
No, that's quite interesting. I do believe that we will be able to show up Kametela Kosamiti we are going to participate. We are supposed to say we don't want to do because it will be prudent that we learn from each other and from the dialogue. Because I think Len Nahela, sometimes I've been fortunate to have friends who are older than me who have passed through stages that I've passed through, and some who I can call my mentors today, where some of these questions I was able to either observe and we sharpen ourselves over that. And I think everyone deserves to have that kind of safe space where they can vent out and also learn. So in terms of mental health, which is also going to be a core feature of the discussion, which is where you mostly specialize and all that kind of stuff. I want to ask this one in terms of our facilities as a country. I once posted a question on Facebook that with the way things are going and the youth being unhappy and ready to burst all the time, like you were saying, we really need a trauma center. Adding on to that, but you are the expert. What kind of facilities in terms of mental health do we have? Are they adequate? What can we do?
I think we do need different facilities that focus on specific things. I guess mental health is very broad.
Yes.
So I believe that we need to also put effort in terms of building capacity of health professionals to provide those services, number one. And then raise awareness. I think one of the things that I liked that Dr. Victor said is let's focus on preventative care, so that we have the dividends that them, because nothing as compared to curative care. I think focus on high prevention. Yes, then talk about what is it that we need to be setting up. But in order to set up those things, we need data. Like I believe in data that informs for what type of a center do you know, but let's have a trauma. We need to unpack what is it that is going on. Trauma, related trauma, is it acute, is it what, and then inform the erection of those kind of facilities. I do agree that there is need for people to access. Actually, I was talking to a colleague of mine, a clinical psych. We are hoping that there is going to be more access to mental health services for Botswana, where they're able to come in and say, you know what, 𝐸 just going straight and to go through different routes, and then go mental health services. So we are hoping to have that. And so coming back to the summit, it is a platform where people can say, you know what, I might actually think 𝗕tože I'm okay. Because sometimes I get a diagnosis like Google. All the symptoms to the and so how we tell the experts, but no, you are actually okay, you are not. Whatever facility then go there. But we need scientific data to inform development of interventions. We need data.
So speaking of development of facilities, the interesting thing right now is that we have ushered in a new regime, a new dispensation led by Advocate President Mr. Duma Boko. And yesterday at the State of the Nation address, he spoke about universal access to health and quite a number of things. What are your expectations in the medical industry, or in the health sector, more to be precise? And maybe I would like for you to unpack me what this whole universal access health and whatnot means. No, I
had a conversation earlier on with a colleague. Dr. Victor, and then I'll tag along. What is universal health care?
Yes.
From what I've heard, it's accessibility ya ditlamelo tsa botsogo gore ba ya tolose e gore go bathong ba bantsi. So I think that so I think that's the gist of it. I'll wait for them but I'm excited because I would want to see how they are going to leverage on technology. Yaka Dr. Setsa bua really Botswana re setse re na le ngaka wa rona Dr. Google. Re setse re na le AI ko eleng gore re diagnose teng. But I want to warn batho gore let's use technology with caution, especially ga re se ba itsanape. Technology yone ga e go araba o ira gore ke o pia ke tlhogo e ka tswa eleng. E tla be search e be go neela sengwe le sengwe. E tla be re stroke eng wana wa go le ba stroke. O sena stroke ya la o itshiametse ebile go ka nna hello na le stroke o bona go to ka tswana le stroke. So let's consume technology with caution. And then I think we don't need to build many brick and mortar structures, especially when it comes to mental health care. Doco actually can plug into only 5 of us or 4 of us in an hour. Because now I go Dr. Google, I think I'm having a panic attack and anxiety. 15 minutes is enough for Tiana. If she needs to refer me to a center more my vicinity, she will refer me. If you no relax, wait for a week, observe happen, she will do that. So I'm waiting to see how we leverage with technology. And then Horumente should partner with stakeholders such as yourself for I think provide telecounseling. I know there is Botswana Gender-Based Violence Center. It provides free telephonic counseling, more 14655. How we let from any mobile network. Ottawa we are counselor about crisis or de-escalate. But it's not enough. I know if some colleagues who are joining this space. The future is exciting. Of course, health. Cancer. This one is about confidentiality, and we have to be careful around those. The guards that they make sure I'm sorry clearly. Exactly, because the person on the other line, on the other side of the phone, I get. So that is exciting. Yes, Doc.
Yeah, no, just for universal health care. It's about accessibility.
Yes.
Yeah, and so in the space of mental health, we are hoping that more people actually access the services. And then like access also, it will require health professionals by they are providing that service. Health has become an economic issue. And so with such developments, we would see where like because of economic issues. Hopefully. Yes. So the excitement is let's broaden the scope, provision of services to and as Dr. Lenejakanabua, we are yet to see how they are going to unpack it and what it means to service providers, and hopefully to also partner. I think the most crucial thing is to also partner with the private sector, so that we are working together towards the same goal, to ensure we have a resilient, healthy nation.
No, of course, because now I understood it as well to mean that health is expensive. Quality health, to be precise, is expensive. We've seen what happens in some of our public institutions, just to be fair. We see it every day. And you will find that access to good quality healthcare that is there, it keeps on growing expensive year after year, moving against our dwindling household income, basically, and all of that. If it's not growing, it's either going down. And the more the disparity in that, the more the risk to people in our society. I don't know, now I have imagined and I've always asked myself, why is it that it's difficult to have a lot of people in the informal sector, business people in the informal sector, unable to access medical health insurance? And I believe that maybe if they unpack, they'll have an answer for me on that question, because I've always had it, and I figured out that it doesn't make sense because they also are a larger block of our population in all of this. But because Hana bank account or a formal homeowner, medical insurance.
Yeah.
I don't know, maybe you know about.
No, getting with any 𝐒𝐮𝐢𝐿𝐼𝐻, I think it was the debate. Hare Hagenale doc. Resa bereke be ra apply la post e nngwe hela. E be go tsewa doc. Kana doc hora automatically on na le medical insurance cover. Not because I was not qualifying for that post, ke santse ke sa bereke. Then ga ke na medical insurance cover. But the only thing I separate and ke gone gore ene wa bereka nna ga ke bereke.
Yes.
So I think that's what he said. And then yesterday we re 100 days gore a tla etsharolla a tla re bolelle gore wa go ira yang gore madi a gorogang a hela thusa Motswana go gae. Wa Motswana wa go bona improvement mo di services tse le go kana le tsone. But ha ke motlaleletse go mo go rona gape. The reason why or a health insurance bill go godimo, whilst household income kwa tlase, why there is that disparity, household bill medical insurance is because of our lifestyle diseases. We overeat, we eat a lot of calories. Motswana wa se wa bogologolo go ngena ja kopi tsa kabu tse pedi mo letsatsi e be nna gone go tlhabanwa metsi ka bo ibe tlhola ile mo mpeng ya la e rotisetsa energy. Now by 10 o'clock ke setse ke jele dijo tse di more than double what I need for the day. So gona le other people in the health space ba influential ka ba le ka go drive the campaign ya change ka dijo gore re je sentle. So ko America ba irile research. Batho ba ba swang hela ba sa lwala. Gongwe ne le violence kana engana. E be ba batsa e be ba lebella ba ira postmortem ba lebella mo teng gore dirwe tsa bone di tsugile yang. Go ya go isupa gore motho wa bonala. Gore le ha o sna diagnosis o sna bolwetse. Me gona la gone go teng mo teng ga gago di sika tsa gago di a bonala di a tswalega eng. This is why motho a hela tlhokagala. So by default hela mongwe le mongwe wa rona khona le degeneration khona le gona from birth to death. Ya no re go gakatsa ka ha re tshelang ka teng. We smoke go khatha dingwaga. We don't exercise go khatha dingwaga. We drink excessively go khatha dingwaga. We don't eat healthy go khatha dingwaga. Re imetswe re rwele bokete re na re le tense go khatha dingwaga. What does this result in? Malwetse a presenta early. Bogologolo we wouldn't hear 30s 20s go te motho iteilwe ke stroke. Nowadays you hear 20-year-old omo ICU we iteilwe ke stroke. There are very few details because of biology and anatomy. But bontsi ba tsone ke result tsa di lifestyle disease. They would have been building up. So we need to look at our lifestyles. The intervention
which, if that happens, can then help with whatever programs and interventions that government want to bring so that they can fall in a framework where people are already trying to take good care of their health.
It can reduce the loads.
I say this to my doctor. I'm a 1 meal person a day. You know, I don't need. He says no, that's a problem too. And I say, but how is a problem too? When I'm a 1 meal person a day, it's a problem too. You start giving me this lecture. It makes me wonder what so maybe in terms of that, speaking of which, I've had a conversation with I'll take advantage of this before as well. I've had a conversation with a gentleman who is coming to set up try to spearhead the setup of the cannabis industry more Botswana, since we are speaking about orders coming from the sauna, and I also overheard it in the president's sauna. Just what your thinking is, since you are from the medical sector, about medicinal cannabis coming into our
Okay. I think I think we need to understand, because earlier on we briefly talked about it. Hela the understanding, because most ordinary people have what they have bakanya marijuana. I think that kind of understanding, a lot of us we need to be vested in.
Yes.
And then maybe jakane tautunabua, there will be time where I unpack what that looks like. And I think for me, Jaka Reberaka in a rehab, it's something that we are more alert to and paying attention to from a health issue. What is it? Yeah. So we are yet to see what that looks like, and then the impact in terms of what has been happening with regards to issues of addiction amongst men, because there's going to be somebody who's going to be talking about those things.
Yes.
What does it mean? So I think I would say we need to learn more about hemp, or what is it, what does it do, and then also on the kosher side, how does it impact our health?
To help form policy and guide policy.
Yes,
Okay,
yes,
okay,
yeah,
okay.
yeah.
What's your view on it from a practitioner side?
The little I've read about it, there's a difference between hemp and marijuana.
Yes, yes.
The difference is in the amount of THC.
Yes,
yes. The hemp has got very little.
Yes,
about, I think about less than 0.3%.
Yes, yes.
Whereas marijuana has got about 5% THC. So hemp, apparently it can be used for in many industries. Apparently, the framework, it's the structure. Apparently, the seeds are only consume the oil.
Oh yes.
So I'm excited for it. I'm waiting for it to be unpackaged. But I'm optimistically cautious. I don't know how the tree is going to grow in our environment. I know where we have problem in the drought, and for us to reach those volumes, our production alone has been successful. And I want to believe if you can reach the volumes in hemp, then even the agriculture, horticulture, already improve.
Of course, they say so. I think if you check my podcast, my previous podcast with Professor 𝐑𝐫𝐿, who's going to be pioneering hemp here, maybe you will get some of the answers there, and if there are any, you leave them there, and they will see. Yeah, I was just trying to check your understanding and how this is. I do believe, like everyone else, we are hopeful. And I think usually process and procedure is that when things like this happen, there is a panel that gets set from different ministries, trade, finance, health, whichever, so that there is proper legislation that then builds a controlled ecosystem for us to enterprise and coexist with such a commodity. Okay. 29 November, Buipuso Hall. Where's Buipuso Hall?
Buipuso Hall.
It's the old Ditupo Hall again.
Old Ditupo Hall.
Old Ditupo Hall. The upstairs. We have forgotten about our proper place, actually, where everything was built. The old Ditupo Hall, that's where we will be, and with a lot of experts from different type of industry and levels of dialogue for us to unpack the issue with the man. Nani kirkar hongwe haresa ibitsir ke tlile go boletsa mongwe re ka nna ra re imetsi, right? Let's talk about this. And I think it's a great opportunity while the euphoria is still high with the whole changes that have been happening in our beautiful nation, for people to come and say, maybe also let's offload some of these things and leave them with the past and move into a second republic with a refreshed psychology, refreshed mindset, and greater expectations of our health can become. I don't know. I guess I will show up. We will encourage others to show up as well, so that we can learn from each other. But before say goodbye to my listeners, is there anything that you really want to let them know about?
Yeah, no, I think the way we're building the excitement of a new government, it also speaks to individual accountability, because as a new government, we are all individually accountable to ensure that whatever is packed in the SONA, it's achieved. It's a platform where we start to say we've seen leadership. Now we are taking leadership about our own lives, so that we are accountable to our own lives. So we are excited to come and support men to talk and bring solutions. So I always say we need our men, we need our brothers, we need men. Yeah, we support you.
True.
I think it's our hashtag. We support you, we hear you, we are here to listen.
Yes. Okay, great news.
Yeah, no, our company kadi 29 it's November ko di Super Hall. So 𝐑𝐶 it's been great being with you here. Re lebogela gore bo re hile chance ya go tla go arogana kitso ya rona le Botswana. So once again ke Dr. Thuto Victor. Eternity Medical Practice, we are based more Gaborone West Phase 1. Number ya rona ke 397 0009. 397 0009. So I'm very passionate ka gore botsogo ba rona bo determine ke ka re itshwarang ka teng. There is a course e leng gore ka e rana mo Facebook. I have a page which is called the Move for Health. Move hela watsama MOVE the number 4 about health 𝐒𝐮𝐤. So basically this page we create content around positive healthy behaviors. I invite all of you to check out the page. We will expand on it some other time. Come forward ka 𝐷𝐵29 really rute gore wena o itlhokomela yang o tshwantse o ele eng tlhoko. And I like hashtag ya ga Mr. Seretse ya ke boletsa mongwe tlanga dipotso tseo tse le di hilweng ke bangwe tseo. Go to Psych Matters page ya bone mo Facebook, tagang dipotso tseo re tla commenta as much as we can and give you feedback. Thank you, Mr. Lawrence.
No, thank you very much, Dr. Victor. Our charges are number. Please enjoy the rest of your week. Leave a comment, share, and inbox. We are there. We grow with you. You grow with us. The Punchline Podcast, and I'm out.